Okay, we've set up Sketch, and now it's time to get in here and try messing with some artboards. So let's go ahead and create a new document, and you can see my grid is already visible from the last time I was showing it. So I'm going to say uh, pull this over and sort of center our grid. And that's really just for my own mental uh, sort of abilities. Now I'm going to go up here to the Artboard button, and the Artboard button allows me to essentially draw what my canvas is going to be. So I can start dragging. You can see I get these little things that tell me how big it is on the left and right. So now essentially when I have one artboard, it's called Artboard 1, I can go in over to my info inspector. Of course, I can take this number and specify a new one. So let's say I want to do a 1440 by 900, which is a typical screen resolution. You can even rotate it and adjust the position. Now, if you want, when you don't have anything selected, you can just click on a number and start dragging. And you can see it starts to resize it there. So kind of an additional control, which I think is pretty cool. We'll go back to the 1440, and I'll hit enter. Now you can see our grid has sort of positioned itself in the middle of the artboard, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in the middle of the artboard. So let's go to view, and we'll go to grid settings again. And you can see now there's a new little button here with our grid called center. When I click on that, blink, it goes right to the center of the document. And of course, what I'm really doing here is adjusting the location of the artboard. So if I want to go and now you can see if I pull it around, my artboard doesn't start on 0, 0 anymore. So I'm going to click on Artboards. You can see my artboard has moved. So you want to be really careful with what exactly you're doing when you move around these rulers. You kind of want to leave them alone once you've got them locked into place. So I'm going to go ahead and hit 0 here and 0 on Y. Rotate is 0. Let me just hit 0 and enter. Go into my artboard. So you're seeing right away one of the very basic quirks inside of Sketch, and you simply click off of your artboard to stop editing it. If you want to go back to editing this artboard, you can use over here in this sort of layers/objects panel. You can rename it. Let's call this main screen. And if you ever want to re-edit your artboard, of course, you can do that over here. X will start at, I don't know, 90. Okay, it took 90, so let's see if it takes 0. It did. I'm not going to complain. So now this is starting at 0, 0. And you can see, just like in Illustrator or Photoshop, if I hold down space and drag, I can move around here. So artboards are a little bit different than how they work in Illustrator. Certainly different if you're used to Photoshop. If I have my grid getting a little weirder off center, I'll go grid settings. I'll just hit center again just to make sure. Hit OK. And so now we're ready to start designing. If you like designing on a grid, obviously this is an awesome setup. And what I'll do is I'll save this sketch file so you can get started right from here. Also, I just really want to quickly say is when you click on artboards, you can draw other artboards. So if you want to do a second artboard over here, you can see the grid is on that. Whichever artboard you select, the grid will automatically switch to, which is cool. And when you go to export, you can export artboards individually, or you can export them sort of all together as a PDF. So there's a lot of options, and we're going to get into exporting a little bit later. But for right now, I'm going to select this artboard and just go ahead and hit delete. I don't want two artboards hanging around. So I have my main artboard, view, hide my grid, show my grid. Why aren't I seeing the grid? That's right. Another thing you should know about Sketch is you want to come over here and select the thing that you're actually working on. And you can see I've got my main screen selected. There's the grid again. All is well. We're ready to start creating some objects. And creating objects is coming up next. So We've got setup, artboards. Next, it's time to actually make some stuff.